Good day. This is Terry DeFazio, and you're watching Dial It Up. Today, my guest returns after a short absence. This is Ron Horton. The last time Ron was on, he was running for state senate in the Democratic primary. And can you tell us your experience with that and how it went and what you got out of it, Ron?
Well, it was a great experience, first of all. I got into it late. I spent about 6 weeks in the actual primary process. And so I got my signs out about 4 weeks before the primary. And my biggest thing that I learned was that meeting the people is the most important thing. Just going out there to all the festivals that we had, I'd hand out business cards and just talk to them individually.
That's how I met you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a great experience to see the people that want to judge you by your party first. Now, if you notice, many candidates don't put their party on their material. They have to be asked what party you're in. And I had one incident in a grocery store. I handed a man a card. I tried to hand him a card, and he says, "You Democrat or Republican?" I said, "Well, I'm running on the Democratic ticket, and I'd like to qualify that because I do have ideas from both sides of the fence." And he didn't want to take the card. I said, "I'll tell you what." I said, "Just take the card, read it, see what you think." I said, "I'm a Democrat running to lower taxes and to bring business in. It's not quite the democratic process that you'll see." And I watched him. He took the card and he set it down. Then he took it and he picked it up and he read the whole thing. And he picked it up and read it again. And he turned it over, read the back of it. And I like those type of interactions with people because it shows that you don't have to just vote for the party; you vote for the person.
I think party politics has gotten too deeply rooted in our system, and we saw this in the Democratic primary for president.
Oh yeah.
You had people who were automatically for one candidate, just because they were a Democrat or because they were a Republican, regardless of what they stood for.
Sure.
And your elected officials did the same thing. You had elected officials who were for the party and not for the person or even their constituents.
Well, you're seeing that right now, as a matter of fact. I mean, with the Republican side who were just trounced by Trump and said some very terrible things about Trump, and all of a sudden they're backing him. Because it's the party way to do. No, I've never done that. I grew up in a household where my mother would go out and pull the red lever. And I never understood what she meant by pulling the red lever until I grew up a little bit and got involved in the voting process. And it's just not the way to do it. You have to vote for the person. I was a Republican for years and changed my affiliation when I got into a situation where it made sense to do so. But I've voted for Republican, I've voted for Democrat, I've voted for independents. And that's the way it needs to be. I personally think we need a third party or maybe a fourth party in there to mix it up so that people get away from that saying I have to vote for just one party.
Yeah, the two-party system seems to have evolved into the flip side of the same coin.
Yes, absolutely, right now especially. Look at it. I mean, it's when have we ever had a Democratic frontrunner that has 38% favorability rating?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
And the only reason she's in the lead is because the other person's hated more.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is just nuts this year, and that's why I got into this initially. That's why I told you last time I was here, I got my feet wet in politics just because of the situation that's going on in the general election process.
Yeah.
It's just nuts out there. So you know, you can't. There's another thing to think about when you're voting. People tend to vote for the party, or they tend to vote because it's a popularity contest, and we really have to find a way to change all that thought process, because it's not either. It's not the party, it's not a popularity contest. It's who's going to do the best for the country, who's going to do best for your state or your district. You know, that's what you really have to focus on.
Yeah, and some people are saying that the best way to do that is to get the money out of politics.
Yeah, I believe that, you know, entirely. When a lobbyist can buy a vote, that's bribery, and that should be illegal.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tend to be. You know, it's just you have to vote for what you believe in.
What was when you while you were running, what seemed to be the toughest part for you? What seemed to be the hardest axe to grind?
Well, I guess first of all, figuring out where I could put my signs. That was one of the things. I mean, the town picked up 29 of them, so.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you think you have followed the rules and you haven't. You know, I don't think I had myself personally a major axe to grind. I was up against two incumbents who were born and raised in the area. I guess that, if you have to say, that was my toughest challenge, you know, because of the popularity of these folks, you know, and the, I can't not vote for Bobby because I grew up with him, you know, or I can't not vote for John Rogers because I went to school with him. And I think that was probably the toughest part of the whole thing.
And what did you find was the easy part?
The easy part was talking to the people, which I thought was going to be the hardest part. But people really want to talk. They want to be heard. And I think that's the biggest part of a politician's job, is to listen. And when I went out, sometimes I would want to try to get as many cards out as possible at the festival, and all of a sudden 3 or 4 people would want to just sit there and give me their thoughts. And I was there to listen for them. So that was easy. I loved that part.
Now, one of the things we talked about before that you wanted to discuss had to do with the airline or airport or something here in Newport?
Right. I personally believe that the way out of our financial woes in this area is to develop our transportation systems such that it will entice companies to come in, promote job growth, keep our kids here. And I think the first place to start is with an airline. I'm a retired Delta Airline employee. I did everything but fix them and fly them. And you know, I know the route around the airline system quite well. And I feel that if we put an airline based in Newport, and I've called it NEK Skyward just for lack of a better name,
Okay.
but I think it's the airline that could put us on the map. And it's quite feasible. People that don't know the airline industry might say, "Oh, it sounds a little bit too good to be true." But I'm in the mind frame that if it's too good, let's make it be true. I think that's a better way to look at things. So many things that we thought were impossible are possible now, for crying out loud. I mean, you know, just look around us. Just us talking here on television was not thought of as being possible 50 years ago.
Well, of course.
You know,
When you and I were in high school, I mean, I graduated high school in 1969. There was no internet.
right?
Actually, there was, but we didn't know about it.
Yeah.
There was a very small version of it back then. Computers on the level that you have now, that wasn't there. Back then, a computer was this great big hulking piece of machinery that you kept in a back room, and it was very quiet. You didn't even go near it
Right.
because it could eat you. You know, it was this big monolithic thing that was pretty scary.
Well, look at the old movie War Games. That's a prime example of what the computers really were like. They were just huge. They took up entire rooms.
Yep.
Because nobody knew how to make them smaller yet. Yeah.
But there are those people who say this is possible, and there's always a group of people that say no, it isn't. And unfortunately, that's the rub. So exactly how would you get an airline here to Newport?
Well, I think the first thing to do is you have to go out and talk to the investors. It would be a state-owned airline, but we need investors to start it. And I would go out to the Richard Bransons, the Tom Poporesnys, Burt Rutans of the aviation industry that have money and like to go out on the limb and look at different options. We also have a lot of actors in the field, to name two, Harrison Ford and John Travolta, very interested in airlines and aviation. I can see a lot of people wanting to have a little chunk of upstate Vermont. Oh, did I say New York?
Yeah.
Upstate
Well, we're
Vermont.
pretty close. We're pretty close.
I lived there too at one time. But you know, we could develop this whole area with this airline. So getting the investors involved would be the first thing. Second thing would be to make sure that the town, and this would be overlapping, make sure the town really wants it and the state really wants it. We don't want to upset the apple cart. We have to go in and tell them exactly what it would provide for them and get them on board. We don't want to be a wind power company that just comes in and puts the towers up and then the people later say, well, I didn't like that. I want them to be on board from day one. So I think we can do that easily with a few town meetings around the area and just get the interest up. And then once we do that, we can get the investors. I'm sure we can get the investors.
Do you find that there is a core group of people who are going to tell you no matter what it is you propose? And I'll give you an example. There's a core group of people that don't want the wind towers. They don't even have a good reason why. They just don't want them. They didn't want solar power. They didn't want the hydroelectric dams. Everything is no, no, no. Are you finding that there is a core group of people who are going to fight you on this also?
Absolutely, absolutely. But they've got to give me ideas and reasons why they don't want it for me to listen to them seriously. And I think for anybody to listen to them seriously. Now, any objection that they have to the airline, I'm sure we can pacify them with a good answer as to how it'll work for them. If you're paying $3 a loaf of bread, for instance, why would you not want to pay $1.50? Because you now have transportation to bring the goods and services into the area cheaper. Things like that will help cool these nerves of people that don't want it. You're always going to have the people that will never, ever change. And that's just the way they are. And they will never, ever change. And their life and world around them will never, ever change.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that I see. For example, if you go over to Chittenden County specifically, and other counties too, why do they have it and we don't? They think forward.
Right.
They've been thinking progressively for a very long time. That, and there's a couple of other factors I won't get into, but being progressive, is going to benefit the area.
It is.
Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this airline seems to be a very progressive idea.
It is. It's something that I've not heard. I've been in and out of Vermont since 1972. And I've never heard anybody propose that we have a state-run airline. In fact, I haven't heard of a state-run airline in any place in the country. And I've lived a lot of different places. We've had regional airlines. It's not been run by the state, though, or by the region. It's just been a company that calls himself a regional airline. We have Cape Air, that's a private company that operates basically in the New England area, but nothing that benefits the state directly. The initial idea of Newport, when they lengthened the runway by 1,001 feet, is to bring in JetBlue, and that would be good. I mean, that would be, granted, it would be good for the area to have the airline in here, but they would make in the first year $5 or $10 million, and that's a conservative estimate. They'd make $5 or $10 million, and they'd take it to their corporation, and it wouldn't benefit Vermont one bit. But if we put our own airline in here, and we made the $5 or $10 million, we could take that $5 or $10 million, bring it into the education system, reduce our property taxes, bring in business, give ourselves some jobs. It's a win-win situation all the way around.
If they did get JetBlue in here, and I didn't realize that this was something they were thinking about, wouldn't that be at least some help, because JetBlue would be paying taxes or rent or whatever it is that they have. I mean, all these airlines have to pay for something when they go into an airport,
Right.
correct?
Yes, and it would be some benefit to the area, but not, they would probably bring in their own employees on a general basis, the ones that they have trained already. They wouldn't be paying what I propose to pay, and I think personally, I think if anybody's worth hiring, they're worth hiring for at least $15 an hour. They would be paying their $9 or $10 an hour that they pay in their other cities. So I think the benefit would be minimal compared to what we have available to us. And we'd be flying aircraft that fly similar speeds in the distance that we're going to be talking about as jets. We'd be flying the Dash 8s, which are a Bombardier aircraft. They would have, they're set up for 50 seats, but I would limit them to 46 because I want a quality airline. I want quality space on the airline. I want quality employees and quality service. So you know, I think we could do a much better job than just bringing someone in. It may take a year or two to develop this airline, but we haven't had it yet, so why not wait a little bit? Some things, best things they say, are worth waiting for.
You and I also discussed the possibilities for the downtown area. What would you have in mind for the downtown area?
Oh, I love the downtown area. I love that hole in the ground. I absolutely love that hole in the ground because we had nothing going on before that. This is a start to something very good.
What was there was a health hazard.
It was a death trap.
Yeah,
And
definitely was.
Yeah. So now that we've got that opened up and freed up, I can see, especially when we get our transportation system up. I'm not talking just airline. I think we should have rail, and I think we should have bus service up here. There's not a reason in the world why we shouldn't. We've got Lake Memphremagog here, for crying out loud. That's a big asset to the area.
I agree.
And we can develop this area. It used to be a thriving metropolis way back in its day. No reason in the world why we can't bring it back up to that. So this area that's opened up now, we had one investor that wanted to develop it. Let's get 12 investors that want to develop it now. And I think it's easier to get 12 to do 12 little things than one to do one major thing.
Do you think it's possible that the plan was for one guy to do it all, and they put too much faith in that? And because what you're proposing is a bunch of investors,
Right.
not just one, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Yeah, I think when you put all your eggs in one basket, it's not the best idea in the world, and I think everybody would agree with that. So, yeah, I think again, it goes back to my platform of giving businesses tax incentives to come in and develop their business, then supporting those businesses through town get-togethers, even just to open a business and have the town come in and support that business. I think there's a lot of opportunities to develop. Cynthia Moore is our new director down there, and she's got some ideas also on how to bring the community into getting these businesses known and appreciated.
Yeah. Well, I certainly wish her all the best. But I will express a little skepticism, and I'm doing that because I want you to make your point, and because I think your point is extremely valid, and I want people to hear it. But in 2009 or so, maybe 2010, I can't remember exactly when it was, we all sat down at the Gateway and we listened to this incredible plan by 2 or 3 people, and we were all amazed, and we were all thinking, wow, this is really going to be good, and it's going to be within 5 years. Well, now it's about 7 years and nothing's happened. We have a hole in the ground. So how do you, what is your plan, or your plan with other people, to make this happen?
I think because we haven't had the tax monies of the businesses that are going to be there yet, we tell them, come on in, start your business. You won't pay any business tax for the first 2 years. That'll help you get opened and get established. After 2 years, then we bring your tax level up to 25% of what you normally pay, the next year up to 50% of what you normally pay, and so forth. Get them established and help them grow. We are so business unfriendly in this state because we think that as soon as the business comes in, we need to grab everything we can from them. And we don't. We need the business first. We need it established. Within 5 years, most businesses go out of business. We don't want that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We want them to thrive. We want to help them develop their business. We want them to hire locally, hire their people locally, train their people locally. And I think this is all possible.
Mm-hmm. So what sort of businesses would you like to see in that downtown area? Something that we don't have that would be very helpful.
Well, I was heartbroken when our swimming pool went away.
Yeah, up at IROC, you mean?
Yeah. I think that was terrible. It was mismanagement all the way around.
Oh,
there.
of course it was.
So I would like to see, one thing I'd like to see is I'd like to see a health center there.
Mm-hmm.
I can see, and I've even thought about starting it myself. I don't know whether I will, but I can see an Olympic-sized pool downstairs with a gym. Upstairs, I can see all naturopathic facilities. You can have an acupuncturist there. You can have a naturalist there. You can have a health food store there. I would like to see that as one business. I think that would be great for the area. We have restaurants, so I think that's pretty much overdone. I would like to see a nice place for entertainment, though. I think a community center of some sort developed there that was really quality, with a stage and so forth. We don't have to send people to St. Johnsbury or it's close, but Derby Line, and maybe going into Canada when you go to the bathroom. That's a different story there. Yeah. But if we could have our own entertainment center there, that would be good. One of the ideas was to bring the boat down from Magog. Well, this would be one reason why they would want to come down from Magog, is to see plays and shows there. I think that would be a good idea. There's a number of opportunities for people here. I don't think we need another drugstore.
I think we have quite a few of those, and auto parts stores.
Auto parts stores, yeah. So, but I mean, there's a lot of things, and I think that would be something that I would have the people coming to me and tell me what you want. Let me know what you're lacking here, and what would entice you to come into town more often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the good things that happened here a little while ago was a new movie theater. Although I will be the first one to tell you that I lobbied hard to try to get the owner of the T-Rex in Essex to come over here.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. He said it wouldn't be feasible because he'd need at least 6 theaters to really make any money at it. And that never happened. But the people that have it now, I'm hoping that it goes well for them, because movie theaters are good.
I was there yesterday.
All right.
They had a thank you, yearly thank you. They opened a year ago yesterday, and they brought everybody in at noon for a thank you showing of The Goonies, and it was a fun time. It was a fun time. People don't realize that movie theaters don't make money on their movies. They make it on their concession stand, because the percentage that they have to pay to the movie developers and everything else is astronomical. But they have done a tremendous job, and they have the right attitude. They want it for the community. The lady that is running it now, she used to run the projector as a kid when she was in high school.
Yeah, and that's all changed, because when I was over in Essex, Dale, I think his name was Dale Chapman, gave me a booth tour of the T-Rex. And now everything's on a hard drive.
Right.
You just plug it in, and you get so many plays. Which is amazing. I mean, that technology, old film is gone.
Sure. Yeah. My late wife used to splice the film for a friend of ours who owned a drive-in theater.
Oh, is that right?
So, yeah.
Yeah, those things are pretty much done. Yeah. And actually, I saw the old machinery that came out of the old theater, and it was like it would take 7 men and a mule to even budge these things.
Exactly.
It was quite big and quite bulky. And it's going to get better, too. From what I understand, the picture quality is going to get even better than what it is now.
And all this just goes around to what we're saying. We've got a golden opportunity here.
Absolutely.
Technology, ideas, investors, everybody is getting more excited about the future, and rightfully so. They should be. I often said I was born in the wrong era. I would have liked to have been born in the 20s because of such of the evolution that they went through. But we're in the cusp of being able to do that again. There's so many opportunities for us.
Well, technology seems to be accelerating, and if you don't stay up with it, you fall behind.
Right.
And now I agree with you. Now is the time to get on this. Now, you did not win in the primary. Are you going to be a future candidate?
Right now, I think so, yes. I do believe I want to go again. It was good. John Rogers and Bobby Starr shared 49% each. I got 18% of the vote.
Mm-hmm.
As an unknown person, much less an unknown candidate. You know, I think Bobby Starr got 1,429 votes, and John Rogers got 5 less than that, and I got 726 votes. I think that was very reasonable for coming out of the gate 6 weeks before and not knowing a thing about the process.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel very good about that, and I feel now I'll give myself a year before the primaries to start going out and meeting all the people. I went all through Essex County. There wasn't anything over there from any of the other candidates. So they've sort of forgotten about that whole area of their district. And I think they're just as important as Orleans County people, you know, as people out of my district.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I beat John Rogers in 5 towns and came very close or tied to both of them in 12 others. So I think, yes, I think running again would be a good idea.
Was the filing process and the running process, was it very difficult, or?
You know, the scariest part about the whole thing was initially going out and getting my 100 signatures on the petition to get me put on the ballot.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know how to ask people that. And that was I don't know why it was so difficult, but to ask them to just sign to get me on the ballot.
Okay.
And I didn't have but a handful of people say no.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the scariest part about the whole process. After that, it was a piece of cake. So,
well, I wish you all the best.
I thank you.
And I like the ideas you have are, you know, completely plausible as far as I'm concerned, and I'm hoping that you can take them somewhere with it.
Well, I think they're off the map, and I think that's where we have to look.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I brought in a lot of ideas that were grandiose, and I believe they're doable, though. And like I say, you know, if it seems too good, let's make it true.
Yeah, because if you try and you fail,
you've tried.
You've tried, you know, but you've lost nothing.
Right.
Absolutely. It was good having you on again, Ron.
It's good to be here again.
We'll have to do this in a few months and have an update on you, okay?
Really, that'd be great. Sure.
This is Terry DeFazio for Dial It Up. We're glad you tuned in, and we'll catch you later. Have a good one.